Hi, and welcome back to Dirty Bernie's Garage. It's January 30th. It's right around 45 degrees outside or whatnot. Now the grass isn't even thinking about growing at the moment, but it sounds like the perfect time to do a revival on this 41-year-old Murray. That's right, 41 years old. This thing holds a build date of 1982. I want to give a shout out to my good friends Dale and Michelle. They were doing a clean out in an old building. There was a couple old mowers. Instead of sending them off to scrap, they grabbed them and contacted me, told me to come get them. I hadn't got the other one yet, but anyway, this Murray, I picked it up late. I was going to actually bring it out to the farm and use it for parts or whatnot. It was late when we left Dale's house, so we ended up bringing it back here. And I'm actually really glad I did now. After taking a good look at this thing, I didn't realize quite how original it really is. I mean, it's well worn for its age, but I think that this engine is still able to be put back into service. I'll have to get another deck and everything, but give you a quick walk around, show you what's kind of unique about this mower. Now this thing is not rare or valuable or anything by any means, but what it is all original. Right down to its original air breather, carburetor, pull starter. Like I said, the deck has had it, but I'm not concerned with that. Only thing non-original on this thing is you see the white valve cover. But you also see a big dent in the pull starter right here. So I believe something probably smacked it at one point. And, you know, but that's really nothing major. But you're gonna notice that the engine is not covered in oil. One nice thing that was really the factor in deciding to fix this thing, that gas tank's beautiful inside. This engine has sat in a building probably for many years. I don't know exact date. Spark plug's been out of it. The engine was seized when it got here, but a little WD-40, and I turned the blade a little bit and it freed right up. So I have no problems believing this one will run. Now, one thing about this with the 1982 build date is, well, right here, you're gonna notice there's something missing. There's not one of those bail handles. And that's simply because this mower was made before that actually came in effect. But the cool thing is this should be approximately the last year before that all happened. They did a major block design right after this. I will show that in the next clip. Give you an idea, and that this mower actually holds another piece that is unique to this mower, which I will show you here very shortly. All right, so I refer to this engine as the small block Briggs & Stratton. If I remember correctly, these dates aren't exact. They made this engine from 1954 to 2008. To the best of my knowledge, that is the longest running production engine ever made, you know, as far as small engines go. Probably as far as anything goes. I mean, don't get me wrong, they did some design changes over the years, but for the most part, everything's the same. I could literally take a flywheel and coil and whatnot off a 2008 engine, bolt it to a 1954 engine with no, you know, hackery or anything, and it would start and run. I mean, that's just, you know, these actually one of my favorite engines. Anyway, so I just want to show you a couple design changes. Now, if you notice here, here's your oil fill right here for this. That has been in effect probably since the 50s. Basically the lower end of the engine's the same. Now we're gonna go over to a newer style engine. This was a design change in a block. You're gonna see your oil fills right here. They actually widened out the block in this corner and everything to fit that. It's actually got a dipstick on it, whereas the other one's just got a little, like a little window thing you can see out of. Now also, this is your blade brake. When you pull the little handle up top, that's going to release this pad from the flywheel. That's why they call it a brake, because it actually brakes against the flywheel. And you have your kill switch over here also. When you release that handle, it kills spark to the coil and everything. Whereas this older engine, that's going to be wide open throttle. Very hard to see, but there's a little tab there. And when you shut it all the way down, this rests against that tab, grounds out your coil, and kills your spark. One thing I'd really hope to show you on this engine, but it doesn't have it. It's a little too early. This is still actually a point style ignition. We're gonna be doing a points delete on this one. But the original magnetron ignition was based off of a points coil, and they actually had a little eye that slid onto the side over here, and that was the original magnetron. I was hoping to see that coil on this engine, but unfortunately nobody did the retrofit. The original magnetron, they actually, like I said, Briggs & Stratton made this little piece that slid onto this coil, and it worked like that. And then they did a little different design later on, but you know, it was pretty cool, and I would have loved to seen it on here, but that's all right. Right here, this little flap of plastic, this is called your air vane governor. Another Briggs & Stratton, I believe they actually own the patent for that. It's so simple, yet perfect. Don't ask me why. I think more people should do this one. All right, so you're gonna picture your pull cover still on here, okay? You got all the fins in the flywheel. They're pushing air. That's gonna be cooling your cylinder and whatnot. And what happens is they're gonna be pushing air right at this thing, so it's gonna move it as such. The faster your engine spins, the more it's gonna push it. It's actually it's kind of snagged up, but there's a little spring there. So it would actually pull against the throttle plate and slow your throttle down. And what was beautiful about this design is that right here was, you know, where your spring actually hooks, you can actually take a pair of pliers or something and bend this either way. So you can actually adjust your governor speed. Super simple, super easy. And that design ran until, I don't know, 2005, something, 2006. They actually switched over in the later years. The governor, now you got this rod here, right here, running off your throttle. Very hard to see, but it actually goes down internally into the block, and it's got a weighted centrifugal drive gear on it that runs off the camshaft. I covered that in another video, but maybe we'll revisit it later. But I actually called Briggs & Stratton asking them why, after so many years, why did you do this? It makes absolutely no sense to me. Why are you just going to take a piece of plastic that's been working perfect for years and replace it with all this junk? I mean, it cannot be cost effective. But you know what? I did not get an answer from them. The one lady said, I don't know. She put me to another guy on the phone. He's like, I don't know. So I guess I don't know either. It really don't matter. But anyway, the next thing I got to do on this deal here, we're going to pop the cylinder head off, and I'm going to show you what the issue is with this engine, why it is most likely here, and also another issue, the points very well could have stopped firing years ago for all I know. So like I said, we're going to put the magnetron on there, and that'll be the end of that problem. But I'll be back in a minute. All right, so we got the head off of this thing, and I'm gonna give you a little insight of exactly what's going on here. This engine does have its original carburetor, and I'm sorry, this is gonna be kind of hard to see. This is actually a choke style carburetor. Pushing that down, you can actually see the choke open. That choke's gonna stay shut during the starting whatever. Vacuum from the engine is what actually opens this choke. Once it's actually running, it opens up. Another very good design by Briggs & Stratton, I have always thought, when it's working correctly. But the problem lies with the actual valves. Now, this engine, I just pulled the head off of it. I have not touched anything otherwise. This engine's not really that bad. As far as an older engine, we got, you know, the cylinders glazed up a little bit, but it doesn't have the actual ridges in it that are, you know, as far as being run out of oil or, you know, whatnot. But I'm gonna actually show you what is going on with it. This engine's got valve issues. Give me a second here and all right. This is gonna be extremely hard to explain. Yeah, I don't think I can do it. Anyway, rather than trying to explain this like this, there is there's a set of push rods that come up through here, and then you got your valve. The camshaft actually runs the push rods. You know, the sort of valves will open at a certain time and whatnot. The whole problem being is that your exhaust valve is going to be set at 5 to 7 thousandths, and your intake valve is going to be set at 7 to 9 thousandths. Right now, I cannot get a 5 thousandths the feeler gauge in either one of them. They're both really tight, and that's going on, the actual valves are staying open. And I realize 5 thousandths doesn't sound like a lot, but it is enough to the point that it's not going to pull the vacuum in order to open that choke. It's not going to give the power it belongs giving. But if you look, you get your exhaust valve open there. When that piston's going to come up, push your exhaust through the valve and everything. And then, now it's taking its charge with your intake valve open, and then you're gonna go up and hit the fire. But these valves not sealing, for one, during your compression stroke, your exhaust valve hanging open a little bit, that's gonna be taking the actual compression and taking it away, because it's gonna be shooting out of the valve rather than, you know, staying in the cylinder where it belongs. And the same with the intake. With both of them hanging open, you're not going to get your compression. And also, with the exhaust hanging open a little bit, you're not going to get your actual vacuum as much as you would either. So what I'm going to do right now, I'm going to take both these valves out, and then I'll give you a better close-up of what's going on here. All right, so I got one of the valves up here on the bench. Kind of give you a glimpse of what goes on with it. You notice a little cutout in the stem there. That's where your keeper actually attaches to it. And here's your keeper. You're gonna notice we got it gets big and then it gets smaller on the end here. This is the actual valve spring. This is compressed. This is one of the few specialty tools I actually use in this job. It just makes life much easier. But anyway, you're gonna go Go like so. And that actually holds the valve in place. And then when you let go of this compressor, it's gonna loosen up the spring, and that's what holds it in place. Now the issue, as I'd mentioned earlier, we have no clearance. There is no adjustment on these type valves. So what you actually have to do is you have to actually grind them down a little bit. These valves are known to stretch. So what we're gonna do here, take it over to the old bench grinder. Take the valve stem. Doesn't take much. And we only got to go a few thousandths here. But then after that, I didn't get this thing ground perfectly flush. So you're gonna go ahead and take a file, kind of run it across here a few times. That's gonna get your clearance. Something like so. I mean, anyway, I'm going to go ahead and set this in the engine, and then we're going to go ahead and check the clearance, and we'll make sure it's all set. All right, so we got both valves set back in place. I'll show you real quick. As I said, you want 5 to 7 for your intake and 7 to 9 for the exhaust. I got both of these set really loose. This is a 5 thousandths on each one, as you can see. So I got plenty of clearance there now. And with the valves all set back in place, this thing's gonna run beautiful. I'm gonna wrap up part 1 for this. It's starting to get pretty chilly out here and it's getting late. But anyway, stick around for part 2. We're gonna put this thing back together, rebuild the carburetor, and we're gonna start it up. So stay tuned.